Hello and welcome to Industry Spotlight with Creative First. Our guest today is Kamal Gyanchandani, CEO, PVR Pictures and Chief of Strategy, PVR Limited. He comes with a diverse experience of more than 24 years in film financing, co-production, distribution, licensing, cinema exhibition, online streaming, film rental services, and general management. His skill set has been instrumental in driving the strategy and business planning at PVR Cinemas. Under his leadership, PVR Pictures has piloted some of the biggest independent films, making it the largest and the most successful distributor of independent foreign language films in India. He has spearheaded the acquisition of Cinemax chain and SBI Cinemas. Kamal holds a bachelor's degree in commerce from Delhi University, an MBA from the Institute of Management Education, Pune, and he's also an alumnus of the Indian School of Business. Kamal, welcome to this discussion.
Thanks, Loita. Thanks for having me.
Tell us how the past 2 years have been and where the industry stands today.
Well, it's been a mixed bag, to be honest. As you know, COVID 2020 and 21, and also the beginning of 22 were the toughest phase that the cinema exhibition business has seen globally, not just in India. Fortunately for us, the last 2 years, which is 22, 23, we've seen a big positive turnaround despite the challenges posed by the COVID onslaught, the sort of massive proliferation of streaming platforms which took place in 2021 and 22. The theatrical box office has managed to have a remarkable comeback in 2022, marking it. In fact, 2022 became the second highest grossing year in the Indian box office history. And 2023, which finished recently, has turned out to be the biggest box office grosser in the entire history of cinema business in India. So, given the a tough phase that we went through, I think what we've seen in the last 2 years has been nothing short of remarkable. And we are absolutely delighted with the way things have shaped out, the kind of turnaround that we've seen, the return of customers to malls and cinemas. And I think we are very well poised to take off over this year and the subsequent years.
The last year has seen some blockbusters with groundbreaking box office numbers. What insights has this provided with regard to the nature of the Indian cinema going audience?
Well, it highlights a growing appetite for diverse content. So, on one hand, you have these big budget tent poles, films such as Pathan, Jawan, Gadar, Animal, which crossed and set new records, which crossed the box office threshold, the past records, and new records were set. The 500 crore is a number, box office net collection is something which we had not seen in this country. In fact, 300 used to be a very big deal pre-COVID. So in that context, to move from 300 to 500 so quickly, and to be able to achieve it with not just one film but four films, I think it has been. I mean, it's just sort of exceeded all expectations. So this happened on one side, and on the other side, the content-driven films, films like 12th Fail, Oh My God 2, Jara Hatke, Jara Bachke, IB 71, Mrs. Chatterjee, Norway, and so many other films, which not just managed to attract people to cinemas, but also ended up having a very long run. In fact, we just celebrated 100 days of 12th Fail, and a film too, and the film is still going strong in cinemas, and while it's already available on streaming platforms, it continues to coexist. So I think the breadth of content which became successful in 23 has been nothing short of fascinating. And I think one more trend which is clear and which is in our opinion, something which is not reversible is the popularity of South Indian films on pan-India basis, this phenomena is something which has grown tremendously post-COVID. So with films like KGF 2, RRR, Kantara, and this year again, PS1, PS2 last year, PS2 this 23, and PS1 the year before in 22. All of these successes have they're clearly pointing to uh, a, a sort of taste palette which is becoming broader and broader. And this augurs well for theaters because we want people to come back for all sorts of content, be it smaller films, small films with big heart, be it these tent poles which have something for everyone, uh, non-Hindi South Indian films, which do fantastically well in their home market, but has started crossing over to the North Indian, West Indian market, Central India market. And this is fantastic news, and especially for a chain like PVR Inox, which has presence across the country. Uh, I think these trends are pointing to a very bright future. And of course, I didn't mention about Hollywood. Hollywood continues to hold its way, especially within our chain, especially in the urban centers, and also with dubbed content with certain type of films which break out, which cross over to the uh, language markets, be it in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, that sort of content continues to hold sway for audiences, which is again big positive news for PVR Inox.
Fantastic. It's been a year since the PVR Inox merger. Tell us about the strategic benefits this has resulted in since then.
Well, we've been reporting our numbers on quarterly basis. We've been a merged entity since February 2023. So it's been, almost a year, in fact, slightly more than a year. Uh, we've This year has been all about integrating technology, having a seamless platform in terms of backend platform, technology which is running ubiquitously in a seamless fashion across the chain, be it Inox theaters or PVR theaters. So we've been sort of occupied with that. On revenue front, I think we managed to optimize ticket prices, and a lot of that is reflecting in the ticket price growth, which has had no impact on our occupancy. So I think that optimization has had direct impact on the bottom line. And of course, in terms of cost efficiencies, in terms of people costs, in terms of better ability to negotiate with the landlords, be it on rent or CAM, and so many other services that we use. Learnings from one chain to another. Inox was very strong on the cost side, and PVR traditionally has been strong on the revenue side. Not to say Inox was not strong on revenue side. It's just that the focus at PVR has always been on advertising revenue, other revenues. So a lot of those learnings have been uh, passed on to the Inox chain, and a lot of learnings that Inox had deep domain expertise in terms of drilling the cost down, making it much more efficient. All of those learnings have traveled to PVR, is turning out to be a big win-win.
Fantastic. There has always been a need to increase screen density in the country. What are the plans for PVR Inox to increase its footprint in this regard?
But to be honest, uh, growth has not been a challenge in our country. Of course, we're not. You cannot compare India to China. China was growing by 5,000, 6,000 screens every year. That sort of a growth would prove to be irrational in a country like India. Uh, we've been as an exhibition business. As exhibition business, we've been adding about 350, 400 odd screens every year. And of this number, PVR Inox contribution is about 200 screens. Uh, we added a number close to 200 screens in the last calendar year. The year before that was Also a strong year. We added quite a few screens. If I remember correctly, it was around 150 odd screens. 2024 will also see a strong number of screen count being added to our chain size. But to be honest, at this point, the focus is on bottom line. I mean, as a result of the combination between Inox and PVR, we are now the largest chain by far within the country. And in terms of revenue metrics, in terms of uh, footfalls, I mean, we on all parameters, we are the largest chain in this country by far. And we want to ensure that this combination uh, can result in synergies which exceed the expectation of the market. So the market, I mean, as you know, both entities are listed in stock market. So there are expectations vis-a-vis our investors and analysts. And we want to focus in 2024 to ensure that we exceed those expectations. Our focus, while the growth will continue to happen, but our focus is more in shoring up our margins, ensuring that our bottom line and the margin percentage exceeds what it used to be in 2019-20.
As a leader in the business, do you think that the regulations and policies have now eased out for building new screens for your company? You've always been a huge
Well,
advocate for
yes and
business
no.
business.
I mean, we've got a very strong government at the center, and a lot of thought clarity, a lot of strategic clarity, policy clarity is flowing from the central governments onto the state governments. And a lot of that is showing in the infrastructure that we are building, a lot of other reforms which are taking place in the country. And of course, even within cinemas, entertainment, retail business, there has been fair bit of reform. But I think we've got a long way to go. As a country, we can do a lot better. We can do with soft touch regulations. We can do with policies which are more business friendly. While the a lot has happened in the last 10 years, but I think we can do a lot better. Well, I think uh, I mean, while the taxes have come down, we still have this board hanging on a head of local body taxes.
Yeah.
States have the power to enforce local taxes, local entertainment tax. And this is not something which has happened with many other sectors. I mean, this has happened with very few sectors. I think cinema or entertainment business is perhaps the only business which has this regulation being this power being given to the state government in addition to GST. So I think the promise of GST was one single tax across the country. And these sort of distortions should be done away with. That's something which the government could look into. Uh, Also, the fact that 2.5 years that the business had to suffer during COVID, we were the first one to shut down. We had the most harsh conditions of reopening when we reopened, and we were the last one to reopen. Uh, Considering the damage the business has suffered, not just exhibition, but the entire film business, I think, and I'm not trying to compare us to India to these developed entertainment economies such as US, UK, where a lot of support, financial support was given to the businesses. I think uh, government can sort of make things easier in terms of encouraging businesses which have been badly impacted by COVID. I mean, you can do with certain more regulations, rules, assistance, especially financial assistance, which would help businesses emerge from this COVID much stronger, in a much healthier fashion. So that's another area which government could look into. And of course, the number of permissions that go into opening a theater, that's been a repeated request that we've been making to the state government, also to the central government, that we need to reduce the number of permissions, number of licenses, NOCs that we need to take. It just gives way to corruption. It takes a lot of time. We have to allocate a lot of manpower resources. Uh, and basically, there is this, whole uncertainty as to when the cinema would open, in spite of being completely ready. So that's an area which, especially the state governments could look into and simplify the process of opening a cinema once it's ready.
In a very interesting presentation, PVR Inox offered live streaming of the Ram Mandir consecration ceremony. How was this received?
Well, it worked out well for us. It was another step in the alternate content strategy that we've been implementing for the last multiple years. This has been the case even pre-COVID. We've been showing cricket games, football, so basically a lot of sporting events. We've gone to the extent of showing exhibitions. So art exhibitions have been telecasted live. Uh, Music concerts, uh, so basically, we've done host of activities within the cinema. We did this gaming competition uh, with a partner in 22, which was also a big success. Ram Janambhumi's opening day telecast, live telecast, was a step in that direction, a step in that it's part of that overall alternate content strategy. You'll continue to see a lot of action in this regard. Uh, uh, Unfortunately, we don't have enough alternate content which resonates with the Indian audiences. I mean, we would love to play more alternate content, but we don't have enough content, is what we think. When you travel to AMC or Regal or one of these Western cinemas, you find the quality and the quantity of alternate content is much more in the Western market. So we are hoping with these small steps, we will also one day get to a situation where we have enough and more alternate content, and which then ends up contributing at least 4 to 5% of our overall admission. That's our ambition.
In a very interesting, way, you all have improved the consumer experience. Tell us about the luxury collection and its latest introduction, Gatsby's Bar.
Well, premiumization is a theme that we've been working on. Again, pre-COVID, this is something which we've been slowly, gradually building on as a theme, because our sort of insight dealing with so many cinemas, customers across the country in all sizes of cities and towns, has been that the Indian audiences are extremely aspirational. And when they go out, they want it to be a celebration. I mean, movie watching has always been escapism, but escapism, in our opinion, consumers are not just looking at within the auditorium, but even within the lobby space, the whole experience of booking a ticket, the softer service standards that we provide, knowledgeable staff, trained staff, all of these elements are very critical to Indian consumers. So as a theme, premiumization is something which we've been building on. Uh, our currently 14% of our overall screen count are categorized as premium screens, and these are spread across the country, and not just in the top 20 odd cities. They are spread across the country. Uh, uh, what was the second part of your question?
You've answered it actually. It was
Okay,
fantastic.
fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Um, so coming back to content formats, what are the trends that you see which probably will become popular in the future?
You mean the type of content, or you mean the
So
audio
basically,
and
if
the
you
picture
see Taylor,
format?
Taylor Swift's Era Tour, right? It was an interesting content format for cinemas and saw
Yeah.
huge success internationally. What trends do you see becoming popular locally?
Again, Taylor Swift alternate content. uh, we do a lot of Japanese anime, which has become a big sort of segment within the country. It used to be extremely small. I mean, barely people in thousands used to come and watch these Japanese anime films. But now we get 4 lakh, 5 lakh admissions across the country because we've been regularly supplying these films. People have been asking for these films. We've been regularly supplying, and therefore that habit has got nurtured. Uh, you will continue to see more action. For alternate content, of course, we are dependent on producers to produce alternate content, and we are in touch with a lot of event organizers. We are in touch with creative, a lot of creative talent, musicians, to ensure that when they perform within India or outside of India, they also work out and produce uh, theatrically, something of theatrical quality so that we can exhibit the concert uh, as alternate content in theaters. So we are having a lot of discussions. You will continue to see a lot of action. But I think this is a theme which is here to stay. Like I mentioned, regional cinemas becoming pan-India is a theme to stay, is a theme which is here to stay. Similarly, alternate content will keep growing over the next few years.
What are some releases you look forward to this year?
Well, this year, the South Indian cinema, the pan-India South Indian cinema is back in full force. So films like Pushpa 2, Indian 2, Devra Part 1, Kalki, uh, Vijay, Vijay Talapati's next, uh, and so many other films. And of course, Kantara's, addition to the Kantara franchise. And then in addition to these pan-India South Indian films, we also have some really big Hindi films like Singham Again is a big Hindi film which will come out in August this year. Bade Miyan Chote Miyan comes out in April along with Maidan, uh, during Eid. Uh, Mr. Amir Khan will be back with his next. Sunny Deol will be back with his next. Uh, I mean, the list is endless. So, I mean, these are some of the films I'm looking forward to, but it's going to be a big year.
Thank you so much, Kamal, for sharing insights with us. And I'm sure it's going to be a blockbuster year for PVR.
Thank you, Loeta.
Thank you.